There's a word it feels like everyone uses when they talk about Israel, at least when they're talking about her through a historical context. Her creation, her formation, her blossoming as a nation, the word they all seem to use is miracle. That Israel's birth, or rebirth, depending on your political philosophy, represents nothing short of the miraculous. And I get why they say it. The odds were definitely not in our ancestors' favor. The Western world seemingly couldn't tolerate the Jews, let alone support a Jewish claim of sovereignty and self determination. And that was just the West. In the East and the Middle East, the very idea of Jewish autonomy in our ancestral homeland was met not just with antipathy or ambivalence, but hostility, threats, violence, very real violence. And yet, here we are, Israel at 75. And mind you, not an Israel on life support or an Israel preparing to make peace with the dream of political Zionism, but rather an Israel that continues to grow and thrive, an Israel that continues to innovate and inspire, an Israel that consistently ranks at the top of the list in quality of life and overall happiness, or towards the top of the list. An Israel that, yes, can feel like a miracle. But this word, it just doesn't sit well with me. And to be fair, this is a conversation that our people have been engaged in since the time of the Second Temple. This conversation on miracles. What constitutes a miracle? But that's a topic for another time. The miracle that we're talking about today, this issue at hand. To me, to call Israel a miracle is to miss the entire point of Israel. Because Israel does not exist as a nation because God appealed to the UN, or to be historically accurate, the League of Nations. Nor does Israel exist because God resettled within the walls of the Beit HaMikdash and brought Mashiach to bring peace to the world. Israel exists. Israel breathes and grows and thrives because for 2,000 years, we Jews have never forgotten our home. And that simple statement is, of course, anything but simple. Because Jewish history is a roller coaster. But the balancing and harmonious thread through the twists and turns, through the loops, the climbs, the plummets, has been home. When the first exiles returned from Babylon, the Psalms tell us that they were like dreamers. When Titus took tens of thousands of our ancestors in chains and scattered them throughout the Roman Empire, they all set their eyes back on Jerusalem and longed for the day they would return. Through the zealot belligerence of the Crusades, the humiliation of dhimmi status throughout the Caliphate, through the Inquisition, dehumanizing and life-threatening papal bulls, and through a countless number of pogroms throughout the world, we still prayed Uvenei Yerushalayim Ira Kodesh B'Meira V'Yameinu, to rebuild Jerusalem and return us home. And through good times, through the Enlightenment, through contributions to the worlds of art, science, and medicine and philosophy, through unprecedented moments of Jewish success, achievement, integration, and acceptance, we still put ourselves at risk and brought about mockery and derision because we dared to say that our bodies were in the West, but our hearts were in the East. And while the other nations of the world scratched their heads, perplexed by the so-called Jewish question, we shouted back the Jewish answer. We shouted it back to deaf ears, repeating the words we've been whispering since time immemorial, Liot am chofshi be'aretzenu, Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim, to be a free people in our land, the land of Zion and Yerushalayim. And that's what we did. We returned. Not because the sea split for us again and allowed us to walk back on dry land, but because Jewish tenacity, Jewish determination, and hope, endless, endless hope, said, it's enough. It's time. That return has been hard. There is a lot of sweat and blood in that return. There is sacrifice in that return. And there are the elements of human weakness in that return. Hubris, arrogance, power struggles, hate, and conflict. But at no point did that hope go anywhere. At no point did we lose sight of the dream. So here we are, Israel at 75, an imperfect country with monumental challenges before it, but a country, a Jewish state, a home for a people who never forgot it, a home filled with more magic, more passion, more pride, more defiance, more chutzpah than any home in history, a home where our limitless potential harkens back to the words of Tehillim, to the Psalms, and lets us say, just as those exiles did so long ago, that in our return, we are like dreamers. The dream is not a miracle. It is a promise kept for millennia. It is a ner tamid. It is a fire that never goes out and that makes this moment possible. It is a fire called tikva, called hope. And it hasn't gone anywhere. And it isn't going anywhere. Because we're still here. Because Am Yisrael Chai. Israel, you are complicated. But my word, are you remarkable. My word, are you extraordinary. Thank you for allowing us to dream. Yom Huledet Sameach and Mazal Tov.